Hi everyone, and welcome back to Momentwm, the making of a business podcast. I'm Llŷr from Mentera, and today we're filming on location in Llangefni, Anglesey, with one of Wales's most creative and ambitious food entrepreneurs, Richard Holt. Richard is the man behind nhw'n, the last working windmill in Wales, as well as Mr. Holt's chocolate and the hugely popular Mewn brand. After working in London as head pastry chef for Michelin star chef Marcus Waring, Richard made the bold decision to return home to Ynys Môn in 2019 to take over the historic windmill with a vision to transform it into a thriving chocolate factory, tea room and visitor destination. Since then, the business has continued to grow with the opening of a chocolate factory here in Llangefni, creating local jobs and expanding production of his Welsh chocolate range. In this episode, we'll hear about his journey from high-end London kitchens back to rural Anglesey, the risks he's taken to revive an iconic landmark, and what's next as the brand continues to grow. Let's get into it. Welcome, Rich, or as some might call you, the Welsh Willy Wonka. Where has this passion for food and chocolate come from?
That's a very good question, but I have to say, most likely from my upbringing, because my mum was my school cook when I was a kid. My dad had an ice cream factory, believe it or not.
Wow.
And also, my auntie and uncle had a chocolate factory, so undeniably, it's in the blood.
Fantastic. What a fantastic mix as well. But obviously, you've got a career in London working with Michelin-starred chefs. What made you decide to return home and take on nhw'n?
It was pure exhaustion and running out of money in London. So I really wanted to come home purely to recharge my batteries and my credit card. And the ambition was actually to go to Paris.
Wow.
After that.
Right.
And then one thing led to another, and I ended up running a windmill.
Fantastic. And before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your experiences in London and of working with the likes of Marcus Waring.
So my ambition was always to become the best pastry chef that I could possibly be. And so for me, I had to be in either one of two places, London or Paris. And as I didn't pay enough attention in French in school, I decided London was the place. So it had to be for somewhat of a famous face. It had to be.
Yeah.
And Marcus Waring was the first to accept me on a bit of what we call stage, which is free work. And within 2 days, I became his head pastry chef.
Amazing.
And it sounds unbelievable, but the current pastry chef at the time burnt the tartatans. So the opening was there, and I took it.
Oh, fantastic. So you took your opportunity at an early stage in the career then?
As I do with anything.
Oh, fantastic, Rich. And how did you first hear about nhw'n and what drew you to it?
So when I got back from London, I realised how much I'd missed Anglesey. Heriau kicked in,
Yeah.
And I realised what I'd been taken advantage of on my doorstep all my childhood. And I loved being amongst family and friends, and so I needed a reason to stay here. And then a friend of mine sent me a link to the mill being up for lease.
Yeah.
And all she said was, you would make this place a gold mine.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, wow, wouldn't that be amazing? But I was 26.
Yeah.
And I thought, the council are never going to let me run this old, important windmill. But I couldn't stop dreaming about it. So I thought I had nothing to lose. I put my application in. And before you knew it, I had the keys.
So you're from the area, obviously, was attracted to nhw'n. Did you have a clear vision in mind for Mewn?
Yeah. In my very vain 26-year-old mind, bear in mind this is 7 years ago now, I thought to myself, I could become one of the world's most famous pastry chefs in the most random location on an island in a windmill, worthy of television shows, is what was going through my mind.
Yeah.
I thought, I can do this. What a great place to do it from. Pastry, windmill, flour, all that stuff. It made sense in my head, and I just ran with it as fast as I could go.
And what made you confident that chocolate and pastries could work as a business in this location?
The only thing that gave me confidence was the fact that it's the only thing I was good at.
Right.
And I was leaning into my strengths. I'd seen a lot of friends attempt things that they'd never done before, and I'd been doing patisserie and chocolate for the last 10 years. I thought, I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to try and do anything that I haven't done before. I'm just going to stick to my own strengths and just play to it.
Yeah.
Play to it.
How did your experience in London kitchens influence the way you approached building the business then?
Believe it or not, it was more to do with customer service.
Okay.
So I, at the time, believed that London had a much higher standard of customer service to anywhere else on Anglesey. So by giving more of that silver service type thing in our tea room, it helped us stand out a little bit more. And I'm not just talking, nice cutlery and this, that, and the other, and jugs of water ready for you. I'm talking about the next level of hospitality that you don't quite learn in college. And that's things like remembering people's names, remembering who ordered what. So you go back to the table and you don't have to ask who ordered this, who ordered that. You pick up on little things that they're talking about. So if someone mentions, an example that we had was a kid had just come from a swimming gala. Yeah. They mentioned it and say, well done, you came second in this. We get somebody to write a card saying congratulations on becoming second in your swimming gala. We give it. So it's going that extra mile. And believe it or not, that was, in my opinion, the invisible techniques that made us stand out.
Wow, fantastic. So you gained your knowledge, the experience in the kitchen, but something that stood out for you was the experience and what the customers would see and feel when being involved with the business, I suppose. Yeah.
So front of house in London is a whole career for people. It's very different here because not only is Anglesey seasonal, but we just don't see it as important. So you get a lot of seasonal staff, which is totally understandable. You get young people coming for just a summer job or whatever. Where in London, it's a career. So I got into that kind of thing because I kept getting pestered by the front of house staff who said, oh, Rich, I've got this customer on this table who needs this. Can you just write a lovely little letter in chocolate on this plate? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But no matter how busy I was, the front of house didn't care. It was all about the customer. Yeah. And I quite like that.
Do you feel that's important when developing the brand?
Yeah, for sure. And don't get me wrong, it's very easily, I'm not saying we get it right all the time because we got very busy much quicker than we expected to do. So keeping on top of that level of service is tough. But you can actually add it to any element. So even if you're just sending an email to a customer who's ordered chocolate online, for example, there are ways to go about it that can make them feel a bit more special.
That memorable experience creates an impression, doesn't it? And you probably don't remember this, but the first time I met you, we were in Blas Cymru, True Taste, down in Newport, and we shook hands, and the first thing you did was hand me a chocolate, and I still remember that experience, see? So, Mr. Holt's chocolates.
Yeah, I've always got chocolate on me somewhere.
When was the first time you thought, after obviously establishing the business, hold on, maybe this is going to work?
Great question, because I had...
Are you still thinking it now?
yeah, it's changed a lot. So I actually had a lot of doubts at the beginning, and that came from my dad. Right. Because we got we were taking on this cafe in the Windmill that historically served pies and mash and soup and scones and whatever. And here I was about to change all that, and I was only going to serve essentially cake. Yeah. And Dad was like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. So I had a little bit of doubt when we first started. The moment we opened, we were fully booked for a year. Wow. It was unbelievable.
Was it good to have that different perspective? Someone who would look at it in a slightly different way to you?
No, because I've still got a pie warmer in the container that has never seen a pie, but that's like how much I doubted myself at the time. Yeah. So no, in that instance, I had to ask my dad, would you mind just letting me do my thing for a minute? And yeah.
Would you say that family and the local community have become part of the business from an early stage then?
Oh, absolutely. When I first took on the mill, it was family and volunteers from the community who came and helped me get the grounds ready to open and whatnot. And that was unbelievable. I had hundreds of people come to help me get the Windmill looking sharp for the season and stuff.
Okay, that's really, and the community engagement is obviously important, and I know you've been part of llwyddiannus lleol, and the idea of llwyddiannus lleol obviously is to bring local talent into the business. Can you tell us a bit about how that's worked and what it means for you and the local area?
Yeah, well, we as any startup business, we do struggle to keep on top of our costs. Llwyddiannus lleol has provided placements for us in the past. And some of them are still here. And that's where it's great, because what they add to the business, turns out to be valuable enough that we keep them on. And yeah, I can't explain how important those kind of placements are for businesses locally, particularly ones starting up in this economy as well.
Yeah, and it's great to see how community and businesses can grow together. But taking over a historic mill and launching a chocolate brand in rural Wales, it's a bold move, isn't it? What were some of the biggest risks you took?
My biggest risks was taking on a windmill and opening a chocolate factory in rural Wales. Yes, exactly that. I think that's a really difficult question, because every day, we not only every day do we take risks, but every day we see the benefits, but we also see the downfalls. We've taken, that's a really tough question for me to pinpoint. But I think the biggest risk that anybody could really face is doing something that they think they should be doing rather than doing something they know they can do. Yeah. And that's what I certainly did.
You've built the business around my skills and abilities, haven't you?
Absolutely. So when I was in London, one of the things I did on my days off to relax, which, believe you me, working those hours in that environment in London at that level, with Marcus Waring stood in the corner making you feel like you're a master chef, you needed to wind down somehow. And if I didn't go around all the pubs, what I did do instead was I volunteered in a chocolate factory.
No way.
Because when I was a kid, I used to do that in my auntie and uncle's place, and it relaxed me. I just found myself just being amongst the smell, amongst the kind of like the artisanal methods, and just the chocolate flowing and all that stuff. It relaxed me. So I went to work for a gentleman called William Curley, who, if any pastry chefs are watching, they will know that name. Yeah. I went to work for him for free on every day off I got.
You volunteered in a chocolate factory?
Yeah. But William Curley is also like an idol for patisserie chefs. He's a patissier/chocolatier. And so I just wanted to be in his company more than anything, but it did relax me. But then, if you do think about everything that we've done at the mill, yes, arguably, maybe we should have done pies at some points, who knows. But I've never done pies before. But I have done patisserie, I have done donuts, I have done chocolate. Yeah. So I only do what I know I'm good at.
Could you take something else to the mill, do you think? Because obviously you associate chocolate and the cakes and everything to the mill these days, but crikey, could you do anything from there, or is it just a nice mix?
I think certainly you could do a lot more. Anybody else who'd take it on would do something totally different. And it would likely work because of its iconicness and its destination level.
And looking back then, I know obviously that was a big risk for you, but is there a risk you take differently, or one you're especially glad you took?
Donuts. Making donuts instead of patisserie was a big risk, because the patisserie was extremely busy. It was fully booked, and the only thing that stopped that was COVID. And by that point, we'd already we were forced into entrepreneurship when COVID stopped the tea room, because we hadn't been open 10 months yet. So we didn't get grants for...
okay.
You had to have a whole year's worth of books, which I thought was terribly unfair. However, looking back at that now, if I was given money to do nothing over COVID, I'd have done nothing.
Yes,
true. That was it. That's the kind of person I am. If I have nothing to do, I will do nothing. But it forced us to do different things. And one of the things we did was we started making chocolate. And then something else that came from that was television shows on S4C. Yeah. All of a sudden, we were even more popular than we were before COVID. And so when it came to reopening, I thought, I'm never going to be able to keep up with the that the patisserie, particularly in summer, is there anything I could do that I could make a lot more of, but also keep it just as special?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, nobody does donuts on Anglesey, and I could like condense all my knowledge into these donuts. I can make 10 times more donuts than I can patisserie. What's ever going to be thinking about me turning the windmill into a donut shop?
Yeah.
Now, the minute before I posted that concept online, I have never been so nervous.
Really?
It was, I thought everybody was going to laugh us out of there.
Yeah.
There was going to be uproar that we were turning this amazing, historic and important landmark building into a donut shop.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to get lynched for this.
What was the reaction like?
It was unbelievable.
Positive?
3-hour queues.
No way.
Yeah, it was immense all summer long. And to be honest with you, that's kind of like continued, not quite 3 hours, but like, you know, people still come. We sell more and more donuts every year. And that's only because we're figuring out how to make more and more every year.
Yeah.
I think if we were able to make even more, we'd sell more. We still sell out. So, yeah, in my mind, maybe that was a risk, but it turned out to be the best thing I ever did.
And you obviously needed your culinary skills and, you know, the machines that you have in order to produce the chocolate bars, for example. And we've been on a tour and we've seen the machines downstairs. But what other business skills did you need in order to grow the business? How important were areas or domains like marketing, finance, and those sorts of areas, for example?
Yeah, again, great question, because I rely a lot on my own intuition.
Right.
And I think my intuition comes from being quite observant. So I'm often looking at other businesses, what they do from all sizes, from local to huge corporations. I think that's where I get most of it from. I think the most important thing is to recognize your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And make sure you have somebody there for you whose strength is your weakness. So like financing, I outsource my financing, my accounting, all that stuff, because I will end up in jail, because I'll get it wrong. I'll do my tax returns so wrong that, you know, but focus on your strengths and recognizing your weaknesses and making sure that, you know, if you can't afford or if you can't find the people to deal with your weaknesses, you know, then look into educating yourself better and looking into it more. I've made mistakes. I have certainly trusted the wrong people at times, and yeah, it's not as straightforward as that sounds, you know.
Yeah, and going back to the start, then, you know, when you established the business, and over the years, obviously, you've grown it, haven't you? But looking back at some of those areas, would you have spent more time on things like marketing, or are there any lessons there?
I get a lot of credit for my marketing,
yeah,
for some reason.
Not just marketing, but other areas of the business as well. Is there something that you think maybe we should have been more focused on that, or we should have spent more time on it?
It's really, really hard to say, and the reason it's so hard to say is because things change so often. So there are things that I probably could have done, but 2 years later it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, it's really hard. You've just got to go with the flow, and a lot of it is belief.
Yeah,
I just have to believe not just in the business but myself.
Yeah. And
I have more faith than you can believe. It's the only reason why we're still here. And when my belief starts wobbling, that's when I know, okay, something huge has got to change here.
And that belief, passion and drive coming from you is obviously critical to business success, isn't it?
It's the thing.
Yeah.
It is the thing. It's that old notion of whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
So if I think the business is going to fail, it's going to fail. It really is. You've really got to believe in your approach and what you're doing. And I see that a lot. Businesses are going under left, right, and center right now. And to be honest with you, you know, nobody should feel ashamed of that in this economy. However, there are other businesses who are thriving, and the only difference is their own belief.
The attitude and belief, I suppose.
Yeah.
before we started recording, Rich, we asked our followers on Instagram to send in a few questions. Everything from running the business to bringing Melyn Llŷn back to life. So are you ready for these questions? Just a couple of questions for you.
Go for it.
How did you know it was the right time to start a business?
Well, I think that question should be reversed and said, did you know that the 2019 was actually the worst time in the world to start a business? Because 10 months later, we were going to get a global pandemic, and then things would just get much worse from there on. So, yeah, no, I didn't. I have no idea.
Good answer. Any tips, and we talked about it, any tips for turning a passion into a business?
Yeah, just keep doing it. No matter what it is, just keep doing it. So for me, when I hit rock bottom after I get back from London, moving back in with my parents, working in the same restaurant as I used to before, I was in a rut. And all I did, I asked myself, right, what do you love? I like making patisserie. What do you need to do? Make patisserie. And I did it over and over and over again. I came in early in the morning in the restaurant. It was nothing to do with the restaurant. I was doing it for myself. And then I would take pictures and post it online. And eventually that got caught by producers of S4C. And it was a producer of S4C who sent me the link to Melyn Llŷn. So just keep doing what you're doing and make sure you're happy doing it. And then it'll attract good things.
And you obviously got involved from a young age. You talked about your experiences in the factory and things like that, for example. But how would you entice younger people to get involved with food and drink industry, for example?
So a great place to start is restaurants.
Okay.
And there's this thing called stage, which is basically work experience in restaurants. And if you walked up to any restaurant, absolutely any restaurant, and said, can I work for free for a week? They're going to let you. Yeah. Because an extra pair of hands for a kitchen is going to be amazing. And I did that a lot. And I did that with Marcus Waring. I turned up, knocked on the back door, and asked, can I work for free? And the chances are, particularly in bigger places like London, within a week, somebody else will have left. That's the turnover rates.
Because it's so demanding. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And they will recognise you as a somebody committed, and you're likely to get a job. Or you can just keep going, keep asking for these experiences. Just don't expect paid work like that. If you're willing to just learn, you'll have a very different idea of money. And doing that, obviously, when you're younger, is much, much easier than when you're grown up and you've got commitments and rent and mortgages and kids, etc., etc. So do it when you're young.
Okay, fantastic. The other question that we have here, Rich, is what's the most unusual flavour you've experimented with?
Acorn.
Wow.
Which I believe is my signature flavour. I've got a chocolate that's flavoured with acorn if you fancy trying it later.
Is that common or not? No. Completely unusual.
Yeah, and when you try it, you'll be like, I've never tasted anything like this before.
Really? Okay, let's finish the interview now, shall we? Thanks, Rich, and thanks to everyone who sent in their questions over on Instagram. Now, we've covered the challenges and risks. I'd love to hear about the wins. What are you most proud of in what you've built so far?
You're looking at it.
My suit.
Do you like the suit?
Fantastic.
Yeah, my chocolate factory. When I was 14.
Was that a dream? When you were 14?
Yeah. Well, when I was 14, I studied business studies.
Right.
In this very town, in fact, in Llangefni, at Ysgol Gyfun Llangefni.
Yeah.
And I had to do a business plan, and I did one for a chocolate factory. And it only took me 18 years. But here we are. It's not the world's biggest chocolate factory, but it is a chocolate factory.
Yeah.
I didn't specify the size. But no, I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of what we've achieved in terms of the products as well, and the way we've gone about it, the branding, and how we've thought of the branding, such as the main business is called Mr. Holt, which is a universal name.
Yeah.
And it's neither
striking as well, isn't it? As a brand.
I like to think the logo is for sure. I think the logo in particular, I think it's familiar, even though it's brand new. if that makes sense. It kind of looks like it's been on the shelves for many years when it's actually only been on the shelf for a year.
Yeah.
It's also a universal name, and it's neither English or Welsh. Therefore, I can come up with a load of Welsh products like we have, and Welsh people hopefully will appreciate it, love it, and consume it over some of the more mass-produced stuff. But it also lends itself to expanding in the future, because Mr. Holt's is such a universal name. You know, we're not restricted to go anywhere in the world with it. That was a very conscious decision, and the idea of coming up with a Welsh range of everyday chocolate bars. The idea behind that was to get through Wales fast.
Brilliant.
So it's sold everywhere, and I think I'm okay in saying that it's working.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the creative process behind the brand? I mean, did that all come from your creative ideas? Did you pull a group of people together to look at it?
It's all in here.
Yeah, so it's from yourself.
It is, and then I project it onto my designer, my graphic designer, a gentleman called Aaron Owen, who runs a business with his missus called Soph. They're based on Anglesey, and they do the most amazing job in that sense. But I spend a lot of my time like in the chocolate aisle of supermarkets. If you ever want to find me, you're likely to find me in one of those aisles, because I'm just constantly looking at what stands out, what sells best, what's running low, what's like the new thing, and stuff like that, and how could we fit in to that thing without looking too homemade or too small. Do you mean I always like making the brand look bigger than it is.
Yeah, and you touched on the business plan where you wrote when you were 14. How have you developed as a person over the years?
I feel like I've got like I shed my skin every 5 years. I'm like a completely different person every 5 years. I really, really believe that, and I can't imagine, you know, what I do find though, and something that I spent my entire, since I was 14, frankly since I was 10, all my goals were set for the age of 30.
Okay.
And
so you were that prescriptive or precise with your goals.
And after that, only after that have I then read all these, you know, self-help books that tell you to manifest and dream and write things down and stuff. I was kind of doing that anyway.
Okay.
So I was drawing...
Just naturally.
Yeah. I was drawing the kind of car I was going to be driving by 30. I was drawing... I certainly thought of television shows that I wanted to do, etc., etc. But when it came to 30, I kind of like, I did achieve everything.
Yeah.
But then it was like, well, what now? Believe it or not, a chocolate factory wasn't a goal at that time.
Yeah.
And so that's something I do find myself realizing about me, is that I don't dream big enough. Well, how do I say this? Basically, if I set a goal, I tend to achieve it.
Yeah. And
then I realize, well, actually, that wasn't that much of a goal anyway. So then you try and test yourself. Okay, well, what about if I aim a bit higher?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, is there a limit? Is it down to how high you want to go, and what you do? So believe it or not, when I was 30, again, I hit a bit of a rock bottom, because I was like, well, I've done the TV show, I've got a book out, I am self-employed, I have this, you know, all these things that I wanted by 30. So I set a load of goals for 40. I thought, is it, you know, to get myself out of this rut again, I'll set, and so believe it or not, my goal for 40 was to open a chocolate factory.
Amazing.
And I opened this when I was 32. So it only took me 2 years.
It's important to have dreams, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's also important, I suppose, to have realistic milestones when you're in a business and trying to drive the business forward.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that I've learned, is that, you know, you can dream as big as you want, but also those realistic ones are important as well.
Yeah.
More so with this one, because this is like, you know, from scratch. It is... Mewn is very different. You know, you get a huge explosion of business over summer, and the key there is to just make the most of that. Whereas this, you need to tick it over every month.
Okay.
And then you need to be, but also because it's from scratch, you can monitor it better, and so you can monitor your growth as you go. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Before we finish, Rich, we like to end with a quick fire round, a few rapid questions to wrap things up. Are you ready? So the first one, where do you see the business in 5 years' time?
Sold to Cadbury.
Ooh, there we have it. What's your favourite thing about running a business in Wales?
Oh, the immense sense of community you have, but throughout the whole of Wales.
Good answer. Name one business in Wales you think is really smashing it right now.
Some friends of mine called Cuffed In Coffee.
Ah, yeah.
On
Familiar with
Anglesey.
them.
Yeah, they're killing it.
And why? Quickly. Sorry, I know it's supposed to be rapid, but...
They've got everything going on, and they're popping up all over the place. Obviously, they're a coffee shop.
Just the look and feel and the product itself.
Yeah, but also their attitude, the quality of everything it is, but
Excellent.
also they're producing their own beans as well.
Yeah.
So not only do they have all these cafes and little pop-ups, but they've got a unit where they're also into production.
Excellent.
Love it.
If you weren't running this business, what would you be doing?
I would be probably a music producer, because that's what I did my degree in.
Ah, okay. Interesting. And if someone out there listening is struggling to run their own business, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Just evaluate your belief. If you believe it'll work, it'll work.
Oh, fantastic. Rich, thank you so much for sharing your journey, insights and advice. It's been brilliant having you on the pod. And thanks to everyone tuning in to Momentwm, the making of a business from Mentera. Make sure to hit subscribe on your favourite platform so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Diolch.